Hey guys. Welcome to this episode of Price on Purpose. I am your host, Stacy Price. I am joined with the awesome Maria Daniels. You guys may be like, don't I know her from somewhere? Yes.
No,
Yes,
I
you
look
do.
different because see,
You're different now. Like, it's like, what
completely different.
changed? The sweater in the background.
You're welcome. You're
So
welcome.
you
This was
guys,
pre-thought out for quite a while, actually. You have no idea.
you said what?
I said, oh, this was pre-thought out for quite a while. They have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. They don't understand the production that has gone into this moment. Like, this is the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing.
But yeah, so I have Maria on today. So we're going to talk about money. We're going to continue this discussion. We spoke about it on Spontaneity. She's talked about it on her show as well, Successfully Chaotic. We're going to talk a little bit about our relationship to money and how we can like look into it and see where it's going to lead us, right, Miss Daniels?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think a lot of people are terrified of money. I was for the longest time.
Do you know why?
You know, it's something I think that we accidentally pick up. Like my family didn't have money. So, money was always a tense subject in our house, like, because there was never enough of it, growing up. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are like that, but I can remember, because my parents kind of tried to hide it from us kids, like parents do, but, I can remember them, worrying about money. And I can remember, food, even getting food was, a hard issue during some years. And, I think from that, I got this negative connotation in my mind that money, that it was a stressful, situation. It was a stressful thing. It was something that was necessary, but there was these emotions that were attached to it.
So, because I think other people have that similar understanding of money. I don't think you're alone in that. That's the thing. I think, what we start to realize is that some of the ways we deal with certain things or the relationships we have with it are not necessarily our own just because we were around it, right?
And we don't even realize it.
That's the thing. We don't even know it's there. So how did you know it was there?
Oh, I didn't for a while. I mean, I did realize that, we were poor, we didn't have enough money. So my solution to that was always to find money. My solution to that was always to be able to figure out a way to make sure that we did have enough money. But I didn't really know how to put a lot of that thought processes, into a process. I didn't understand that part. I understood that you needed to work, in order to get money. Right. But I didn't understand how to make my money work for me. So it was, to me, at the very beginning, it was just to work hard, work a lot, get as much kind of money as you can. But then I didn't understand how to take those dollars that I was making and, turn that into something that was making me more dollars, and it's a thing that it takes a while for some people that had to learn like I did, kind of the long, hard way to understand. But there's a difference between expenses and assets. So, and I think a lot of people, and I didn't understand that for a long time. Like if you have a house, that's not actually an asset unless you're doing something to make other money from your house, like Airbnb or something like that. That's an expense, unless you've got it completely owner free and clear, then it's an asset. But most people have a mortgage at that point in time. It's a expense. A car, a lot of people get new cars all the time. That is not an asset. That is an expense, unless again you're utilizing it for something. Yeah.
So you're making money off of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I mean, I think it's those little things, and then also kind of figuring out the difference between passive income and active income. So I mentioned that, I thought you just had to work hard, and I still am a believer in hard work. It's not that I'm not, but you only have a limited amount of hours in a day. To be able to work. So there is a limit on how many hours, no matter how hard you're working, that you can work. So, to me, it was learning how to maximize that. And at first it was just doing things that I made more money in that hour, but then that turned into, well, how do I make money, on things that I'm doing nothing with anymore? Like they're just making money by themselves. So the passive income.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't until, when I left my job back in 2020 that I started to realize what money was. I really wasn't conscious about it before. Like I used to make really good money. Like the amount of, like now it's like in hindsight, it's like, dang, I was making like a good amount of money at one time. And I didn't realize that, because in my brain it was pay your bills, yes, you should be saving, but there was no discussion about making money work for me or adding more assets. Like there was no discussion about that. It was the mentality of you work hard, you save your money, make sure you have money for what you need to do. And I got that from my parents. Like you work hard, you save, and that was it, But it wasn't until then I started watching like stock market stuff, and I was like, wait a minute. Oh wait, you can have like more than one way that money comes into you? Like, oh, I thought for some reason in my head, Maria, I thought it was just like you just had one job and that was it.
Well, and I think most people are there. And when you were talking, it made me think of, you've heard of Parkinson's law, right?
No, tell me more.
Okay, so I've talked about Parkinson's law just with time management and stuff, but that same theory goes into effect with money. So in Parkinson's law, if you allot 10 hours to a project, you will use 10 hours on a project. I mean, there's been scientific studies after scientific studies that have proven this. It's just the way that our brain fits the work in there. But think about the things that, like, if you procrastinate on something and, you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to take me 10 hours to do, but then somehow you crank it out in 2 hours. Obviously, it wasn't going to ever take you 10 hours to do it. It's just you were more focused on, the task at hand. It's the same thing with our dollars. Like, you mentioned that you used to make really good money, but somehow it just went away. And I can remember, working a salary job and made an ungodly amount of money on stuff. And I didn't really live any different than I do, I did whenever I left my job. I mean, my lifestyle changed, or my lifestyle didn't change, right? So I leave my job and I went to freelancing, and I was making way less money at that point. But my lifestyle, didn't change, because even before I was making that good money, it was still the same. So my lifestyle hadn't changed. And the reason is because if you're making more money, you're going to find a way to spend that money, right? If you're making less money, you're going to be frugal with that money. And you can put that into all kinds of examples. Like, I was thinking the other day, like, whenever I was cooking, and like when I first get a new box of something, I'm like, oh yeah, it's a new box of something. Like, you don't even pay attention. When it gets down to, it was like this month, all of a sudden you're very particular on your measurements, right? Because you don't have a lot left. Then olive oil is a good example. I'm like, olive oil, more the better, right? And then when I get down, I'm like, oh crap, I need to go get some more olive oil, and I need it for several things. I'm like, right, train it out, And it's just one of those things it's that same example that
makes sense.
You still have that, when we buy it in a gallon, but when you buy a gallon of olive oil, you still have a gallon. Whether it's the beginning of the gallon or the end of the gallon, you have 1 gallon. And it's the same thing with our time. You have, I'm going to say 24 hours, but obviously you're supposed to be sleeping during part of that. You have 24 hours in a day. You know what I mean? You're not going to get more.
Right.
You're not going to get less.
Right.
24 hours. That's what you're given.
Right.
And dollars, yes, we could talk about how you could make more money or, whatever. But, whatever you're making right now, that's what you have. So you have to be able to allot those appropriately. And what I found happens, unless you're somebody that's kind of educated yourself on money management, is that when you're getting those more dollars, I can't even tell you what I did with some. I have no idea what I did with some.
That's the part.
Like, I have no idea, because it's not like I have anything extra special to show for during that time I was making that money. Because like I said, we lived in our same house before I got that job.
Right.
I didn't buy some like crazy car. I didn't I have no explanation because I was not even tracking my expenses.
Right.
I was mindlessly spending that much more money. And it's actually sickening, like you said, to think about now, because what I know now and what I could do with it now.
Yeah.
It's
totally
it's
different.
Depressing. It makes me want to sit down and cry.
Yeah. It's just like, oh my God. I remember when, I know a specific time when I had a certain amount available to me, and you know what it was? I had a fear of losing it. Remember how we discussed in other shows, I'm still working on that extreme reaction to certain things. It's like all or nothing, all or nothing. And that's what got me into trouble, because I was at the point where I didn't want to spend anything. like just nothing, like spend none of it. Like if I'm gonna eat like crackers and like little increments of cheese, then that's what we're surviving on.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh, we're going out, we're going to the biggest restaurants, we're gonna, you know what I mean? It's like live a little, and then I like blow it all, you know what I mean?
YOLO, right?
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
I'm not taking this with me when I'm dead. Like, and then that's when I started to wake up, and I was just like, wait a minute, like, how can I use this now to make it grow? Like, it's like all of a sudden I'm starting to think a little differently, and I think I don't know if I would have realized it if I didn't go through that experience and look at myself. 'Cause I think that's the thing. We got to look at ourselves and how we work with or against what we want. And I think that's another thing. Like, what do we actually want? Like, what's important to us? What are our values?
Well, and I think, that takes time. Like some people I think figure it out earlier than I did.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, looking back on like kind of I guess the transition of how I kind of awoke into understanding money the way that I do now,
Mm-hmm.
I would not have been ready to learn it early on. Like I would not have. There were so many things that I felt like I learned as an adult that a lot of people learned as a kid, like or a teenager or whatever. But then vice versa, there was things that I learned when I was younger that there's some people that I know my age now that still don't know. So I mean, I think it's just again, it goes back to environmentally, how did you grow up? And I don't know that there's
Mm.
necessarily a right or a wrong. It
Right,
just is
right,
what it is, right?
right.
So like I know people that have never grew up cooking. My mom taught us how to cook. My husband always jokes around, like if he's watching the kids, he'll call, and if I don't have the meals prepped, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I do good at it sometimes, and I know I don't sometimes, like everything else. So if
Mm-hmm.
I don't have something prepped and I leave him with the kids, he's calling, he's like, I don't even know what to make. I can't do like you do and take like, a piece of celery and some salt and somehow make a 3-course meal. And it's something that to me doesn't even seem like a skill because,
Right.
again, I grew up poor. My mom can take nothing and turn that into an amazing meal
Yeah.
because when you have to learn those things, you learn those things. And so to
Mm-hmm.
me, that was something that just it comes second nature. I can look at something
Mm-hmm.
and be like, okay, well that blends with that, that blends with that. All right, give
Right.
me a minute. You know what I mean? But to other people, they're completely baffled. They have to have the recipe. They have to go and get those specific ingredients. They have no idea how to think outside the box on that. Again,
Yeah.
not right or wrong, just is, right?
Right.
But then, other people automatically grew up knowing how to manage money. I have a friend
Right.
that literally had like investments accounts, like what do they call them? Not companion
IRA.
accounts, custodian
A
accounts.
custodian
Custodian
account.
accounts
You
when they
share.
were
What's that?
kids. When they were kids, their
Okay.
parents started teaching them how to invest as children. And
Mm.
so they had custodian accounts. So the parents technically were responsible for them because they wasn't 18. But then when they turned 18, they were already had been investing in their future
That's
retirement
pretty
accounts since
dope.
they were like
Yeah.
tiny. So I mean, it's kind of one of those things that I'm like, wow, that'd be so great. But then that same friend is like calling me like, I don't know what to do, and like I don't how do I make this? I don't have the ingredients to do this right here. I'm like, okay, well, do you have this? Yeah. Okay. Do you have this? Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, you can modify them. Do this, this, this. And she's like, how does your brain work like this? And I'm like, because this is how I learned. While you were learning
Right.
all stocks and stuff, and I'm usually calling you going, I don't understand what's happening. Help me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Right.
again, it's almost like a different, language. It's just, she natively was raised speaking investments and money management. And I mean, her dad's a financial advisor. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
literally it was just the way that it was,
Mm-hmm.
and I was raised the way that I was. So, I mean, I think if you kind of look back to, when speaking of money, our relationship with it is going to be very much dependent, at least early on how we were raised. And I think a lot of people get to the point where they realize they don't understand money, but then at that point they're embarrassed
Mm.
to ask for help with it because they
Yeah.
maybe have acquired debt or maybe their credit sucks at that point or whatever
Right.
the case may be. And it's unfortunate really because it's just like anything else. Like
Right.
if you don't understand it, you don't understand it. And when you know better, you do better, right?
Exactly. I think that's the major key, though. It's feeling like you can't even start. There's some people that literally be like, I can't save right now. Like, I can't. There's just no way. And I understand that. Like, I do understand that perspective. But I think sometimes it's like, just like we were talking about, like, I thought saving was like, like I said, extremist. Like, $200 a week. We're gonna be at $3,000 in 6 weeks. It's gonna be great. It's like just like you usually say is to start where your feet are planted.
Yeah.
Like just start some, and even on your episode. So guys, make sure you check out Successfully Chaotic with Mary Woolard. Like some great tips that you guys shared there on like how to save and how to start small and just take those increments and then, make your decision like a little later on of what you're going to do with that money. It doesn't have to go into like everything right now.
No, and that's the thing. Like, don't think you have to like jump into investing or like jump into these
I have to
scary
buy
things.
stocks right now.
Yeah, it's like, I don't. My husband is way more involved with like stocks and NFTs and EFTs and stuff than I am. I dabble. He's
I
like,
dabble too.
he's obsessed. No, he listens to it all day long. He eats, sleeps, and breathes it. He's an extremist too. So like, which I am too, but that hasn't been something I was like, I gotta get extreme about. I'm like, yeah,
Right.
but I focus on some other stuff. So I like to make the money. I can save the money. I'm not that. And I'm very much goal oriented saving too. Like I want to go here, so I'm saving money to go here because he will never save money for that. He has no problem saving $5 bajillion to buy like the buy-in, ISO for this stock over here. But he doesn't ever think about, Maria wants to go to Dolphin Island and take the kids, and we need to think about
No.
so it's fine. You know what I mean? He would never, that would never happen. It would never happen. So
Right.
again, I mean, it's a good thing. We kind of balance each other, like on that kind of stuff. But if you're somebody that's kind of new to just money management at all, I don't know that stocks is the best starting point because, or in my opinion, because I think it is more complicated. Like I'll listen to some of it, and then all of a sudden my brain's like, all right, this is enough of this. We got to go do something.
Right. It to me with the stocks, like I enjoyed it because I was just happy that I was learning something about money beyond the way that I was taught. Like my mom gave me great advice as far as like how to save and what you should have and things like that. But I think with the whole stock thing, I think I discussed in my show earlier, like I used to watch Bloomberg as a kid. Like, I know, weird. I used to sit there and watch it as a kid. I was like,
did you see the SP 500 today? You're in third grade. Did you notice?
Like, what?
All your friends were like,
I had no idea what I was watching. I actually didn't know. Something about it. I was just like, why are some numbers red? Why are some green? Like, what does it matter? How do these people know what this company is going to do? How do they know? How did this person get on the show? And this person, that's when I was a kid, that's what I was just like thinking about, right? And all of a sudden, as I got older, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back to what I like to do. I started watching it again, and I was really listening now because I'm older now. I'm not a child anymore. So when I was like, what? I was like, wait a minute. So you telling me you put money here and it grows? That's possible? And I said, the only way I'm going to find out is if I do it. So I had a couple of dollars that I was able to play around with, and I just jumped in and I said, all right, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that, and see what happens in 6 months. And then the numbers go all over the place.
Oh, they do.
But some of them, they go like this, but they're still going up.
Yeah.
And some go down.
I mean, that's why I don't 100. Like I try. I mean, I'm not saying I have pretty much all the app things. I have Coinbase. I have Robinhood. I have all the things, right?
Right.
I have eTrader. I have stuff on everything. But there's something about like I am. You know me pretty well by now, but people that are listening, I don't like surprises. I don't care what kind. I don't want bad surprises, obviously. I also do not like good surprises. I am not the person that you surprise. I am not the person where you're like, honey, here's where we're going. Pack your bags, or that's even worse. I got your bag packed. No, thank you. So I mean, like, that's not my, like, within my personality, none of that sounds good to me. So surprise me with nothing. I want to know what to expect. I want to already know how I'm going to feel about it, think about it, react to it. Like, that's just my personality. So you can call it good, bad, in between, whatever. It just is, right? So that's why I have my own system I do with investing in stocks and, Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff is I take a certain small amount and I read about the companies and I'll invest it. And as far as I'm concerned, the money's gone. I just went and drank coffee, ate a meal, whatever. Because the way I look at it is it's just gone. I'm not planning on anything coming from it. It's gone. So
Whatever
then if I
happens,
get
happens.
something, it's like, okay, great, I have this. So I mean, and that's the only way that I can make it okay in my brain,
Hmm.
because I have studied about stocks, and I can tell you, about ISOs, unfortunately, which is what usually kind of makes me like, because I know how that works, right? Like I know that
Right.
the companies go public, they decide all that stuff, and I'm like, why do you get to decide? And you're gonna still make that money, and then it goes out, and you're making bank no matter what. And I don't know, it's just that whole thing within me. Again, I'm not saying it's necessarily bad. It's just
Right.
within me. That's why I can't 100% like go full force like some of these people do.
Right.
Like my
Right.
husband. My husband is some of these people. He loves it though. He absolutely loves it. But he is, which I'm an adrenaline junkie too. We're just different on what feeds
Where
our
we apply that adrenaline
yeah,
in a
he
sense.
definitely
Yeah.
loves it. He's like he will be like somebody that comes in on ground floor and puts
Hmm.
the capital, go and do this stuff. And he
Hmm.
he does better than I do on it
Right.
most of the time. Even though there's a few things he's like, "How did you get such a good return on?" I'm like, "Man, I have no idea." I just like it
Yeah.
was. I was like, "Ooh, that sounds fun. Let's get some money of
Right.
that." That's how I think.
Yeah.
And because that's not something that I want to put like a lot of time and effort in myself. I like to dabble. I'm a dabbler on that,
Right.
but not,
Yeah. I
yeah,
guess I could say the same. Like when I threw some dollars into certain companies, I think the lesson I learned is learning about why you like the company, not what was that soda? Was that your
no, I
Waterloo?
don't drink soda. My
I'm
sparkling water.
sorry.
I do not drink soda.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend
I
you.
was
It's
going to
like
weigh
what? Are
down.
you kidding me? High fructose corn syrup? I don't do that.
I do not do that.
I know. So, so when I jumped into stocks, I realized because I thought it was all just numbers, numbers, numbers. That's part of it. But then I realized that it's important to look at the company, and I think it's a relationship. I think
Yeah.
yes, you have people that day trade or like go in, make a couple, then jump out. I call those like the hopscotchers. Like you
Yeah,
have
and
people that
a
play.
lot of the people do really, really well
They
like
do.
that. That would make me a nervous wreck though. I just can't.
I would be on like high level anxiety,
Yeah, I would be
like
too.
if I was a day trader. Like
Yeah.
get out, get out. Like I no.
No! Yeah, sometimes you
I'm
have
more
to
long
be
term.
honest with yourself. Is this going to be
Yeah.
better for your life? It wouldn't
So
be good.
I realize long term is better for me. I like to set it and forget
Me too.
it.
Yep.
Just leave it alone. If it's there, you need it, go get it. But overall, long term.
I pretend
So
like it doesn't even exist. I think I will go
yeah,
and do an odd job or deliver pizzas before I would ever do that, because to me again, that's my mental detachment. It's like it's gone. That money's gone
yeah.
forever.
Well, I mean, I think that's like a understanding way to deal with it, because I think if you're betting money that you can't afford to lose, that's probably not a good idea,
Never,
and
never.
you're going to put yourself in a worse situation than improving your situation. But yeah, I mean, these things happen. I mean, the more research you do, the better. But there are other ways, beyond stocks, beyond Bitcoin, that we can help our money work for us. So for you, Maria, because you're also a business owner, I guess a serial entrepreneur even. So how are some ways that you found that work for you of how you're helping your money work for you?
Well, I mean, I know I just said a whole bunch of stuff about like investments and stuff. I do have some, and I have some
Hmm.
retirements and stuff like that. So that's kind of like I always look at it like long, long, long term, and that's like
Yeah.
long, like way back. Like think about like a telescope where you're looking at still a dot, right?
30 or
That's that,
40
right?
years.
Yeah, because I kind of like separate stuff out
Yeah.
on short term, intermediate. Those are usually my bases: short term, intermediate, and long term. So that's like my first buckets I put stuff in. And my short term is obviously broken up into two. Like short term, I need to make these amount of dollars. My goal is to make these amount of dollars. So there's an income short term,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a savings short term. And I mentioned like wanting to go to Dolphin Island. That's in Florida, Dolphin Island. I want to go there. My husband is not excited.
Oh, that's for real? That's a real place?
Yes, and
Oh,
he's
snap.
not excited. He doesn't enjoy Florida at all. So I pretty much gave him the option, like, well, we're going. You're entitled to join us if you would like to, or you can stay here. But Anyway, point is like I set that up like goals, like short term savings is goals. Like I want to go here, or I'm going to need here, or stuff this, or whatever it is. Like my kids, like I plan that for kids' clothes and shoes because my boys are growing every 2 seconds. The Kate and Cole, I swear I buy them clothes and shoes like it feels like
once
weekly,
a week.
but it's probably ends up being like
it's weekly.
every 3 to 4 weeks. And I wish I was making that up, but I'm not. Because
Right.
they just like growing on stuff. But
yeah, they're kids.
so I mean, it's
grow
that kind of stuff.
fast.
So those are things. So it's like short term stuff. Like I know that we typically are going to spend X amount of dollars in a year. I
Mhm.
divide that down by monthly, and that's how much I'm saving to go toward that. So that way, whenever they grow, it's not some big like expense that I haven't planned for. The trip to Dauphin Island. I've picked how much I thought we were going to spend. That's our budget. I did a little research, like what we want to do there, what the lodging's going to be. And I know we can't go out to eat for less than $200 because that's who we are as a family. And so I've added all that up, and that's my goal.
Well, you got to add that you're taking like a football team out.
So I do it. I take a football team.
You have 7 kids.
I do. So so that's kind of one of those things that those are some short term. Financials is going to be like, okay, well, I need to earn this money, right? I need to earn the money to pay my bills, and I'll earn the money to go towards my short-term savings. Intermediate, is going to be things that technically that's where like some of the short-term and the long or the intermediate kind of can interlap, because depending on when your trip to Dauphin Island in, or, how much you already have saved for your clothing, if you've already got like some in the pot for the clothing or for the Dauphin Island, that may be moved to intermediate because, it's not as pressing because it's not as soon. And then the long term or the intermediate, let's go to the intermediate, like income. So some of that's like, okay, well, I want to increase my income. I'm gonna make it up, $2,000 a month. I want to increase my income $2,000 a month because I want to pay down debt, or we're going to need a new roof or whatever. So I make the plan. What does that look like? What do I need to do? And as a business owner, I have the ability to say, okay, well, maybe I create this new course, or maybe I agree to take on an extra speaking engagement, or whatever the case may be, right? And long-term goal is done similarly. It's like, okay, well, long-term, my goal is to buy a bigger house or buy a new car, or, whatever. So the savings would be relative to that. And again, the income, you may look and say, okay, well, I'm making X amount of dollars a month or a year right now. To be able to get that new house, I need to increase my income by X amount. So like that's how I kind of put it in buckets. And I actually I wish I brought it here, but I didn't. I actually have it on paper, and I will segment it out and write down some of those goals related. And it doesn't have to be pretty. I mean, yeah, if you want to make it pretty and print it out, whatever, it's fine. But you can literally just do it on a piece of notebook paper or a dry erase board or whatever. And it's also okay that sometimes those things move, right? So you can have those set in the stone, and you got everything planned out for your savings or whatever, and then you blow out tires, and tires wasn't on your list until months and months and months and months away.
Yeah, I can tell you about
that. Exactly. I mean, it's happened. So, sometimes you have to look at something else that you got saved up for to say, okay, well, I'm going to have to fish some of this out of here, and I'm going to have to put that toward tires. And then you look at it and say, okay, was there a deadline on this? Because obviously if I'm going to Dauphin Island, there's a deadline, that's a time. So then it's like, okay, well, I have to make up X amount of dollars. So I'm going to have to increase my savings for the rest of this time to be able to get to my goal. And you can literally take those same, skill sets and put it into work with anything. And it's kind of working backwards. My husband always gets mad at me because I work backwards, but that's the only way that I know.
Why do you call it working backwards, and what does that mean? Because to me, it sounds like,
okay,
forward, like I don't get it.
well, because it sounds counterproductive to some people to say, okay, well, here's my goal, so I need to make this much money. And so if I know that I need to make this much money, I can make that much money. Right. I will make that much money, right?
Right.
The way that he works is from a different mentality, which is not wrong. But he's like, okay, we have this much money. So again, both is right. And that's what it's taken us a long time to figure out. You actually have to work from both angles, but that's just like naturally his brain works like this is what we have. But then somehow he's got like a blinder on to anything way out here, right? It's like, this is what it
He's
is.
in like, we are
Yeah,
here right now. We're going to
exactly.
work towards it.
Yeah, and
You're
that's
like,
good.
we need this.
Yes.
This is how much we need. So work
Yes.
towards that.
Because with my, and I mean, and this is something that's taken a while for us to kind of figure it out, because I'm like, okay, well, if you start with this, we've got $0 saved. We're going to use Dolphin Island. We have $0 saved for Dolphin Island. We ain't going, right? We're not going to Dolphin Island because there's no money in the Dolphin Island account.
Right.
My mindset is,
how much
we need X amount of dollars, so we have to do it. And if it can't come out of our normal budget, I will find it, right?
Yes, girl.
I will find it. I will find it. If I have to cut my own expenses, if I have to make more money, right? Yeah, I will find it. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that, I don't know that there's necessarily anything wrong with the way he does it.
Yeah, I don't think it's wrong. I think it's just different perceptions of how you guys think about it. You know,
but it's balancing that out. And I think that's another thing is, and that can be hard when you're starting a financial journey. And I think that's why it was easier for me to start a financial journey in my business, because he's not in my business. Right?
Literally.
It was a little harder for us to start that financial journey at home.
Right.
Because we clashed on it until we figured out that we didn't have to do it the same way. Because here's the fun part. And I know there's a lot of people like, no, you have to always have joint accounts. Bull crap. We have joint stuff for our household, for our kids, for our joint things like the house and, you know, all that stuff, groceries, you know, medical, all that stuff. That is our joint accounts that we have to discuss and plan. And so, trust me, sometimes it's like, even with that, but that has to be joint, right? In our personal stuff, I don't care. You know, as long as what we've agreed you're putting into the joint and I've agreed I've put in the joint is going in there, I don't care. I don't care if he buys $1 bajillion of that new stock or not. That's your money to do that. As long as you are doing what you've committed to do on our joint goals, you do you, boo. You know, and I think that's a good way of kind of balancing that out, especially when we're both type A personalities. So if we don't agree, we will battle to the death. Neither of us is giving in.
You know, it's so funny. It sounds like Natasha and I, because we're both type A, and I'm an extremist. I'm like, but I think like, okay, average price of this is this. How much are we going to need? How much? Okay, here's the number I came up with. We need this much money by this much time. This is the least amount we can save to still get to that goal by that day. But then what happens is she's just like, but we don't have that right now. I know. That's why we're just, you know.
Oh, so you're me and she's Chad.
I am you. She's Chad. Yeah, pretty much. Because I'm just like, no, we will have this by this date. No, and she's just like, no, we will not. And I'm like, yes, we will.
We will. Well, if you're stubborn like me, it doesn't matter. I will get it. I will.
That's what I told you. I will eat like Lint. Yeah. There'll be a lint and water diet. By any means necessary, we will get to this point. Yeah. There's no maybe. We don't maybe this.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, you know, once Chad and I figured out that our differences would complement each other if we were quiet enough for the moment to let it. You know, that was kind of different. Doesn't mean we don't ever argue about stuff, because trust me, we do. But it's definitely different now. I don't take it as like a complete personal insult to me as a human now, like I used to. I used to be like, you hate me and everything that I love. You know, I was taking it like so personal. Like, you just hate me. Why did we get married? I would say, why did you marry me, Chad? Why did you even marry me? If you were like anything that I did.
You sound exactly like me the other day. I was just like, yo, what is the point of this?
Yeah. And so it's like, I would go so extreme. And somehow he's like, I don't think that we should, you know, do whatever it is. I don't think that we should go to Dolphin Island. I think we should go here instead. And I would be like, why do you hate my existence? Instead of being like, I don't know, well, let's talk about it and figure out, you know, there was no like, I don't know. It's funny saying it now. I'm a little better now. I'm still opinionated. We'll just say that. That's a good.
But you find ways to like work with each other and complement each other, because you guys are different you do want the common thing, but you just have different ways that you go about it.
And we have different wants and different likes. And I think that was the
Yeah.
biggest thing for us is figuring out that I don't have to like, just because we're married doesn't mean I have to like what he likes. I don't want to, like, I like listening to stock podcasts and shows and stuff, but not, that is all he listens to.
Numbers all day, all night.
Like, but he is very much like, that's how his brain works. His brain
Yeah.
is like a computer, and he just like
Oh my
he's so
God.
smart.
Yeah.
Like, he really is.
Yeah.
But there's like, on the other part, there's like some like all the brain power went to that part, right? That's a little lacking.
That's like we speak about human development.
Yeah.
And habit forming behaviors, and that's it.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, he doesn't understand. If I try to talk to him, like, I get very excitable about stuff that I'm excited about, right?
Yeah.
I'll be talking like mindset and manifestation, and he's just kind of looking at me like. So, but he was so excited last night talking about this new ISO that he just bought into.
Okay.
I don't even know. I always say $1 billion because it's always some big number that gives me a heart attack inside, but it's his money. And you know, and I was like, because I was trying to be excited, but he, like, I can only fake to be excited about that kind of stuff for so long. And then finally, he's like, "You don't even care, do you?" I was like, "I care a little bit. I do. I'm trying to
smidge.
Keep my excitement going like this." I was like, "But I'm not gonna lie, it's starting to fade." The longer he talked about it, I was just like, and I was trying. I was like, "I'm going to be the good wife." I'm listening. I'm like, "Yeah, that's really great," because you know that's one of the things he said one time to me is that I'm never excited about what he's excited about. So I try, but he likes so many boring things. I'm like, "It's not my fault you're dull. It's not my fault you're dull, Chad." No, I mean,
hilarious.
It is. But I mean, all in all, like, he was raised thinking about dollars and stuff, so he knows more than I do on that. I'm better at making the dollars out of nothing, like out of nothing. That's not like something he always says that I can somehow make a business out of a blade of grass. He says that all the time. He's like, "How can you can somehow make a business out of a blade of grass?" Be like, "I got this blade of grass, and it is so good for this." And then somehow you can, and somebody's like, "Yes, blades of grass," and I'm like, "Well,"
it's like, "Oh my God!" So you take the blades of grass and you cut them.
Like,
oh my God! I've always wanted somebody in my life that could do that.
And you can make it into a tincture, and then that'll help. You know, no, I mean, I think it's just one of those things that going back to how I grew up, I had to be resourceful.
Exactly.
It wasn't
so you have that mindset.
"quote unquote" normal ways of dollars coming in, even with me. So I had to be resourceful. Like, okay, well, yeah, I worked, you know, I'm a job at that point, but it was like, okay, well, I needed to do this, I needed to do that. I have to figure out how to make this work. So, I mean, I think it's just, again, how you grow up and how you're raised on that kind of stuff.
Right. So I guess I have a question for you because I saw a little bit of this in myself. I remember, shout out to Christine Regan Lake. She's a healer. I actually spoke with her on a couple episodes before on my show, and I found out that I was very limited to how I thought about money, like how much I should have. Like, I actually put like a unconscious cap on the amount of money that I should have. So for someone that was raised in a space where money wasn't always so accessible, how did you have that? Did you have that like mindset of like, okay, I just have just enough and then I'm never gonna let it go?
Early on, honestly, I think I didn't even think about it because I've talked about this with you and on some of my other channels and stuff that, you know, the way I was raised when you got married, everything was joint. Like the way I said we do it now is how we do it now. I didn't always do it. Everything went into joint. Every cent I made went into joint. I would even help pay extra stuff so stuff can go into their retirement account and stuff like that. So I didn't think about money for the longest time. But when I started really thinking about dollars and making dollars for myself, I almost had this feeling that I didn't want to be associated with lots of dollars. And it's funny that you say this because Amber said this to me today. Amber said, what did she say? She said, and can I cuss on here or do I need to?
Of course. Go ahead, drop it. F-bomb, whatever you want.
Yeah. So Amber's like, because she said something about rich, and I don't know why I got so offended. And she's like, I can legit be like, "Bitch, you're a bitch," and you'd be like, "Ha!" And if I say anything that's like, "Hey, you're gonna get rich," or "Hey, you're rich," or "Hey, anything to do with rich," you are so offended. And she's right, because I have this association with people that are considered rich are not real nice. They're not nice. They're not giving. They're not what I want to feel like I am as a human being. And
Mm-hmm.
even though I can logically think about it, and I think about people that are quote unquote rich and they're not all like that, I still have this negative, like, feeling. If I get called that, I take it as an insult. But if she called me straight to my face, I'm like, ha. So I can't even really explain 100% why, other than growing up, I never fit in because even though I hung out with the quote unquote popular kids, I never
Mm-hmm.
ever really fit in because I wasn't rich. I didn't have the things that they had. I was just bubbly and outgoing, and somehow I got to kind of float on the outside of the world and kind of was part of the group, but I never really felt like I fit in.
Yeah.
And, I think that probably kind of draws back to that. But, I don't know. I guess that's the best way I can answer the question. I don't know if that actually answered it or not.
That, you know what, you actually answered it perfectly, because that's what I was curious about, because I had that too. And that's what I found out by speaking to Christine, because I didn't realize that the idea that I had in my mind of what being rich meant was associated with a behavior.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't realize. I was actually uncomfortable around large amounts of money, because for some reason it went into even my worthy zone where I didn't feel like I was even worthy of it. So the issue with that is, by me feeling I'm not worthy of it and being uncomfortable around it, I'm not welcoming it into my space. So if I'm not welcoming it into my space, that means I'm not going to operate on a frequency to bring more of it around me, because I'm the one that feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that was the crazy part. That's why I got the money rug, because I was like, you need to. I mean, I know I'm visual. I'm a visual person, so I literally, when I started working from home during the pandemic, I was like, yo, like I need to be okay with being around money, and just literally being okay with seeing it around me. So I got the rug to be like, look, every day, like now it's normal for me. I don't even think about the rug. It doesn't make me uncomfortable anymore. It's like, oh, okay. Now I just have to, work a little bit more on the building of assets and understanding how to utilize the asset so that it can bring it to me. So that's why I was like so grateful, because I was curious about that. Like if you had that too, about being rich and what rich meant.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem being around money at this point because I mean, I've
Yeah.
been around it. I think it's just the association, like you said, of what that means. I am not comfortable all the way with, and like I mean, I say I love to make money,
Mm-hmm.
but there's almost a sense of shame sometimes that I feel like I should have when I'm able to make the money. I almost feel like that like you mentioned, like you shouldn't. Like it's like, okay, well, I have to like do this or do this or do this. I have to earn it. I have to earn it, and not only just earn it because I'm working for it, but just like cosmically earn it. Like I have to,
Yeah,
like
like
it's a weird, yeah, it's a weird thing. Like and it's something that I've worked on because there's been again phases in my life where I was uncomfortable being around large sums of money,
mm,
and then even as I got comfortable about being around large sums of money, and asking for dollars because, I thought that I was worth it, my team was worth it, and all those things, even after that point, it was being like having bad experiences with money or bad experiences with a client that I took those big dollars from, or bad experiences while
mm,
being involved with a public company, which is probably why I only go this far with the stocks now, where I'm like, I see you. But
yeah,
that's as far as I go because I've got
right.
like trauma related to all that stuff.
Mm,
But which that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But
mm,
like I think like you can end up with these traumas that happen
mm-hmm.
related, and you don't even realize they're still there. Because I would have assumed that I had dealt with it, but it was her calling me out the day because I was like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, you're actually right on that. Because yeah, I'm fine being around money. I'm obviously fine. I'm for the most part dealing with stocks. Whenever all that stuff happened with that public company I was involved with for a while,
Mm-hmm.
I shut down every like I was like it was like
Mm,
dead. That's again,
mm.
I'm an extremist too. So it's like I'm in, I'm in, I'm in. I'm like dead. Everything is dead for me. You're all dead to me.
I'm
I
out.
was like terrified. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just started getting back into it late last year, and all that stuff happened early 2019. And it's still like beep, and then I sit back and I'm waiting. beep.
Yes,
And it's
yeah.
different this time because I'm not fully involved in the company. You know, I'm reading about it. I'm like, oh, I like you. I'm going to give you a little bit of money. That's completely different. And I logically knew that the whole time, but there was just that trauma involved with it. And I think it could be like that for a lot of people. And I think for me, and for saying that to me today, I realized that there's still some emotional things related to maybe not necessarily with money itself, but with the idea of what a lot of people who have a lot of money are thought of as, how they act. Because again, not all of them are like that. So if you're out there and you're like, I have a lot of money and I'm not like that. I'm not saying all of you. I mean,
It's
I
like,
know
I'm
a
a
lot.
farmer. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I know a lot of people that have a lot of money and they're not all like that. And I know that
Right.
logically when I think about it, but you know, you think about some people have a lot of money that look down on people and treat people poorly and na. And even though I can logically think and know that not everybody's like that, I automatically don't want anybody to ever think that I'm like that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know what I was watching. I don't even know, but somebody was talking about, how in society we see people with money act in the fictitious world of TV shows, Instagram, whatever it is, the example that we have of having a lot of money is that, like, how dare you? Like, I've got it all, all this, like.
I thought it was Grey Poupon. Have you seen that meme that goes around?
No, I haven't.
Haven't you said that when I was a kid? I thought that like the moment you arrived was when you had Grey Poupon in your refrigerator, and I was like, I
Oh,
did
word.
too. I thought only rich people had it. Did you ever see
and
the
like,
commercial with the
oh yeah, I remember the
Grey
commercial.
Poupon? Yeah. So it's like I thought it was like a rich people thing, but it had to be like $1 bajillion, right? Like, which I mean, my parents wouldn't have bought it anyway. I already told you my parents.
I don't even know what Grey Poupon
Yeah.
is.
What?
Is it a mustard spread or
It's
something?
like a mustard spread. I've not ever had it. See, I maybe I need to buy it and be like, ooh, I feel.
Can we like do an episode of Spontaneity with like Grey
It's
Poupon?
like,
But like, guys, we've made it.
we have made it. It is our moment. We have
What are you
arrived.
supposed to eat that stuff on? Like, I don't even know.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, think about the things that are associated with having a lot of money, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
like tiny dogs in purses. Like if you have a tiny dog in a purse, I don't know. There's just a lot of things, right? The big cars, and it's funny because I've worked with a lot of people at this point in time, and some of these people that have these high dollar cars.
Oh.
Number one, they're leasing them. Number two, they can't afford to pay my bill that they owe me. But you're driving around and you're.
Ooh, girl.
Yeah, don't even get me started. So I mean, sometimes that's like vanity, right? And
right.
And that was the thing with me and that was the thing because it kind of like I laughed at Amber. I was like, ah, but I went in and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's right. There's still something there with that, and I think that's what it is because I will never be okay with the vanity dollars. Now that being said, that doesn't mean if something you've always wanted is that nice car, or that nice house, whatever. I'm saying that if you're only buying it, not because you really want it, and to you that's something you've always wanted, like Grey Poupon, maybe that's something you always wanted. Good, go get it. And if you're only getting it because you're like, I want people to watch me eating Grey Poupon.
People to like know that this thing
I
is
have
Dijon mustard.
Yeah. So
it's just Dijon mustard.
I know. So anyway, it's Grey Poupon. So anyway, the point is you're only getting it because of the status of it, and it's not something you really want.
Yeah.
It's just like that poser mentality, and right. I think that's what I fear. I fear the not being as deep as I want to be. I fear not being as like purposeful as I want to be, because I talk about purpose and the why all the time, because that's my biggest thing. And I think Absolutely. To me, even though I know logically again it's not true, that some people forget that purpose and that why because they get to a certain status, right? And then at that point they have to because it's expected that you should drive this. I mean, I've even had people I know to ask me like, why do you drive a Jeep? I don't even have a Maserati. I'm like, I don't have the money for a Maserati. I don't know what you think's in my bank account, but I don't have it.
It's like you're a business owner. You should have a Maserati.
I'm like, I do not have a Maserati. And I don't understand, even if I did, I would not spend that much money on a Maserati.
I would.
But that's fine. But it's something you love, right?
I'm like, I would.
Well, but it's something that brings you joy, right?
I love, and the thing is, at this point, this is the thing with me and the Maserati, right? I like the idea of it because the front
Have you
of the
been in one?
car, that's the thing. So I got a story. So I remember at one point I wanted the Dodge Dart, that car. I thought it was like, because I don't like big cars. Like I want a tiny car. I want a tiny car. I want to be like, I'm out, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I liked it. So I never was inside of the Dodge Dart. Like I just never drove the car. I don't know how it handles. I don't know anything about it. So I went online and I was like, let me price it out. Let me see what's going on here. And then I saw the interior and I was like, oh, it's not for me. You know what I mean? I was like, oh wow. You know, it's kind of like judging a book by its cover, that whole thing.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I don't think it's the car for me. Right? I played a video game one day and that was the first time I saw a Mini Cooper. And I watched that movie, The Italian Job. And I was like, I didn't know that the car existed. Didn't know. So I looked into the car and I found out the story behind the car. That this guy, so the Cooper, or no, the Mini already existed. It already existed, but this guy, John Cooper, was like, I want to turn this into a rally car. And he drew an example of it on a napkin. And I was like, wait a minute. This guy drew this car on a napkin and it became real?
That's pretty cool.
So I was like, I'm going to get that car. And I actually sat in the car. I went to test drive it because I never been on a test drive before. And I got in that car, and that was the first time the way I felt about the car looking at it, it only grew when I actually sat in it. And I was like, this has to be my reminder so that every time I look here, I remember you can do anything. If a guy could sit there and draw out an idea on a piece of napkin, you can have an idea. You could take that wherever you want it to go, but it's up to you.
Yeah.
So with the Maserati now, I love the Little Mermaid, and I'm like, that's King Triton's car because it's got, you know, the thing on the front, you know.
I think you're
So
really stretching that. But
I
you had me
know.
going with the Mini Cooper car. I was
Yeah,
like,
I like the Mini
yes.
Cooper story, Maserati.
Yeah, it's like you can do anything. You can dream it. You can draw a napkin. And I'm like, yes. And you're like, and then the Little Mermaid, like, wait.
You're like, I
I've
love the
been
Little
in a
Mermaid.
Maserati. I didn't. I'll be
I don't
honest.
know about the interior though. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be
Well,
for me. That's the
okay.
thing. I don't
Well,
know.
well, look, well. Here's the thing. This shows how much I don't even know
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. Is
Mm-hmm.
I get picked up in this car, and it's with a business partner of mine. And he's all like, "Oh my god, this car!" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's like whatever, you know." And
You're
he's
like,
like,
is it
"You
going
know
to
what
get us
this?"
to the store?
Yeah, and I mean, it's well, I picked it up from the airport. We were going on a meeting,
Okay.
and it was with another business associate. It was his car, but the other guy that was my business partner, he got in the car too, and he's all like, "Whoa," and he's like, "You don't know what this is?" And I was like, because the
You're
other
like,
guy
I
got
don't
out of the car,
know.
and I'm like, "A car?" He's like, "It's a Maserati." I was like, "Okay." I didn't know what a Maserati was. I have no idea.
All right.
Like again, I grew up poor.
Mm.
We don't speak that language.
Yeah. So
So
you got a
I was
truck?
like,
Can
I
it
don't
pick up
know.
stuff?
Like I don't know. So anyway, he's like, "Do you not know how much these things cost?" You know, and I was just like, "Okay." So when he told me, well, and then the other guy got back in, he's like, "Did you pay about $1 million for a car?" He was, "I actually got the upgrades when it cost like $135,000 is what this guy paid for this car." And I'm sitting
That's
back,
a
and we're on
house.
our way to a business meeting, and I'm all in my skirt and the business center, but I'm like having a hard time,
Yeah.
because I'm like, that's 130 for a car, because here's how my brain works. My brain's like, I know that the vehicle depreciates. Yes, I know. I have a lot of people go, well, some vehicles don't appreciate the same as others because they have great resale value. I don't care. They're still depreciating. They're freaking car. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I don't care. They're still depreciating.
They
Yes,
are.
a Maserati is going to depreciate less
Yeah.
than my Jeep Compass. I am well aware of that. But point is if you look at what I paid for my Jeep Compass compared to what somebody's paying for a Maserati, I still don't think that
Doesn't
that percentage
even.
is really there to make it worth it for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you are somebody that again, you like the epitome of where I feel like I've arrived, and this is just going to bring me so much joy. I'm gonna feel like I've made it to what my goal was. Because you're able to buy a Maserati, I will never be the person that says that's wrong. If it ties into your story, your why, your purpose, your all the things, right? It just for me, I don't care. I look at a car like a tool.
It
Like a
is
tool.
a tool. Yeah.
It's like a hammer. I don't care what kind of hammer it is. And my husband is very partial about hammers. He has his favorite type of hammer, and I made the mistake of buying a different hammer one time. And he's like, "Do you know this hammer is not as good as this hammer? This is why." I'm like, "I don't care." And look, it's working. It's working. Because I'm looking at his hammer, and it's like a $60 hammer, and I got this one here for like $9.95, and I'm like,
What's the
9.95.
difference? Does
9.95.
his
Oh,
have the
crazy.
handle, like the grip handle, and
It's
yours
still got a
doesn't?
freaking handle. I don't know how it's made, how it's molded. I don't know all the things. And I'm not saying he's wrong.
All
He's
right.
probably right. There is something with craftsmanship or whatever. But all I know is his other $60 hammer ended up somewhere on the farm that somebody threw it. So it doesn't matter if it could have lasted 750 years or whatever. It's not going to, because it's going to get thrown somewhere. So to me, it's like, okay, well, gets the job done. I've had cheap hammers for my whole life, and I'm in my 40s and they've not gone yet. So to me, if it lasts another 40 years, I'm good, because I'm going to be in my 80s, and at the point I'm not hammering nothing anyway. So that's how I looked at it. That was my logic behind it. But again, to somebody else that uses it more than me, like maybe they're a carpenter and they're using it all the hours of the day, and maybe
Right.
the grip's better and it makes a big difference on their carpal tunnel syndrome. I have no idea. I'm just making this up.
Interesting.
Then maybe, well, the grip, right?
Yeah.
So, maybe it makes a big difference to them. Paying, $50 more for it may be worth it. And that's what I'm saying. You have to look at, it's not just how much does it cost. It's, what is the purpose? What is the value behind it? Because there's some things I spend way more money on. Like food, I spend so much money on food because I want the best
Same.
quality food.
Yep.
The best quality food. I
Yep.
don't want the cheap stuff. I
Right.
don't want it because I know how it works in the body. And to me, it's like, if you eat for nutrition, if you're not able to pull nutrition from it, then you might as well not eat it. So to me, I spend way more money on that. My food budget is through the roof. That is not somewhere where we are going to be able to save money.
Yeah. I don't ever want to skimp on, I used to be like, oh, well, just get this. But then, and, when we started getting foods that were like labeled organic, non-GMO, things like that, I'm like, oh my God, it's so much more expensive. But then when I look at it, I'm like, is it really? Like $1 versus say like if I think this is a great example. When we think about like investing and using our money to get to where we need to go, if you apply that to food and you think long term,
Yeah.
are we going to buy the product that maybe doesn't have the best ingredients that it took to make it, versus I know that this food product did have the best ingredients and went through a certain type of process where we made sure that it was quality for you. I I'm going to take that because long term for me, that means that my health is going to be better because I'm not getting the after effect of what could happen with this product that may not have gone through that same process.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, yeah, we could talk about nutrition all day long. That's one of my favorite topics. But, I always tell people that you're either going to pay for it on the front end or you're going to pay for it on the back end. So, you're literally, again, you eat for nutrition. And a lot of people don't think about that. And I'm not talking about the nutrition labels. I'm talking about, it goes back to bioavailability, right? Well, what can
Mm-hmm.
the body absorb from it? Because just because it's got, this amount of this and this amount of this and this amount of this doesn't necessarily mean that the body is able to absorb it. Because the easiest way to kind of explain that is like the body kind of works like a computer, and the food kind of works like computer programs. It's got to be compatible, because you can stick a computer program into your computer, but if it doesn't have the right drivers, the right things to identify it, it's not going to be able to play it. It's not going to be able to
Yep.
utilize it. It's the same thing with foods, because and I'm using quotation marks, because some foods are not, they're not really considered food. They don't have
Mm-hmm.
any active bioavailable nutrients in it that our body can actually utilize, as being able to build the things that we need to build, and repair in our body on a daily basis. And to me, that's why that's one thing that I will not skimp on. I will pull from all the other areas far, 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 far before I will pull from that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just for that reason.
Heck
And
yeah.
a lot of people think they can't afford to switch from eating or eating like conventional and McDonald's and all the cheap like things that you get, to some organic foods. they can. It's actually, you'd be surprised that some of the stuff is no different. Some of the stuff is very little difference. It's the quote unquote convenience foods that you'll see the big difference in. And then honestly, the more people that buy that kind of stuff, the cheaper and cheaper and cheaper it's going to get because it's supply and demand like everything else, right? So, I mean, I always tell people that you're voting with your dollars every day. So if you're buying these things, you know, that are better for you, and it started to happen if you notice, because the prices have gone down,
Yeah.
even though, you know, they
There
have
used to
gone
be such
down.
a bigger difference, especially with the
Bigger
bananas.
Yeah,
Now it's
bigger
like,
difference.
yeah, it's getting
Here it's a
closer.
10-cent difference a pound.
Mm-hmm.
65 cents a pound for non, you know, organic, and
Yeah, it's
75
about the
cents a
same
pound
here.
for
I think
organic.
5 to 10
So,
cents.
yeah. So, I mean, you're not talking huge amounts on a lot of things. And if, last time I checked, I actually did, it was last year, so I'd have to do it again. But, you know, some of the things were exactly the same price, exactly the same price. And there was even some things I found that were cheaper. So, I mean, it's like, you can't just go by that. And if, you know, again, start where your feet are planted. So even if you're just like replacing, you know, little at a time, do that. Replace one thing this time and two things next time. And, you know, that's going to be better than never replacing nothing at all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maria. Is there anything that you wanted to add as we come to a close?
I don't think so.
Do you want to talk
Thank you
a
for
little?
letting me be on here. I can do that. I can say thank you.
Yeah, I'm always grateful to have you on. Come on back anytime you feel like it. You know, of course, we do the show Spontaneity that is live on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. See, I did it. Okay.
Proud.
And then your show, Successfully Chaotic, is live Thursdays at 2 p.m. Do you want to talk a little bit about your like Maria Daniels brand and like the side hustle and things like that?
Well, I mean, the Maria Daniels brand is just kind of pulls everything together that I do everywhere. So, I mean, we actually have just created, and actually Alex is working on it. It's not all the way done, the new site, but putting together just the site of pulling together all the things that I do and have done, and not to be like, oh, look at me, look at all the things I do, but honestly, just for somebody to be able to look at it and be like, okay, well, I don't have to just pick one thing. I would never be happy picking one thing. That's not my thing. I would be so bored. I would not, that's not something that would make me happy. And some of the things I do aren't even similar at all. Like I have my wellness company, I have my coffee shop, I have a co-working space. You know, there's different things that I do that number one brings me different, you know, sources of income, but it also allows me to be able to, you know, be creative, because I love new projects. I love being creative. If you're doing that within one business, sometimes you can be like hopping around, never getting anything done. So I'm able to kind of get that out of my system by, you know, hopping over here, doing a little bit of it here, hopping over here, doing a little bit of it here, to keep those businesses churning and going. We decided to create that just because I'm going to go back to speaking some again here and there, and that way, okay, I know it's kind of one of those things. Like I went back and forth. I'm like, do I want to go speak again? Because I enjoy it, but it's like everything. It is exhausting going and traveling and you know, speaking and that kind of stuff. So, but I'm open to virtual too, because that way I don't have to go fly places.
Just like dress up like business on the top
I'll be
and like casual on the bottom.
Yeah,
like,
be like that. What is it? That Folgers commercial where?
Oh yeah, the guy's like in his boxers.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but no, I would do it when I would wear pants. I would wear pants.
Well, I'm glad that you would wear pants, Maria. Of course, guys, I dropped the link to Maria's show, Successfully Chaotic, in the chat. So if you want to check it out and follow her for more episodes that she does, definitely do so. I 100% encourage you, especially if you're an entrepreneur or if you're learning different ways to use your money. Definitely listen to that. Also, I dropped the link to the episode with Mary Woolard. That's a great episode to listen to learn about how you can start saving now and things to look forward to. I think even in I don't know if you guys discuss like taxes and stuff like that, but I know Mary does help.
I can't remember if we actually discussed taxes or not. I liked how easy getting started was. Like literally she's got some little printouts, you print it out.
Yeah.
And you color in the little thing if you're going to save that.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're used to having to do like big girl work all day, and you get to like print out some color, and you're like, I'm doing things, but I'm still
Can you
coloring.
imagine?
It's just so fun. I've
You
been
break
doing it.
out like your like Crayola crayon set and
That's
like you're
exactly what I have
coloring
in there. I
it.
have a Crayola coloring
Yeah.
set, which I'm a little salty about. I'm not gonna lie, because Sayla came and used my crayons, and she broke my purple one, and she destroyed the box. So
Well, you know what they say, broken crayons still color.
they do, but they make me
All
angry. I'm
right
very like,
now.
those are my things that I want perfect. I like them perfectly sharpened.
Yeah, me too.
So I was like, I'm like trying to be the grown up adult because she's my child, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm like, it's fine, it's not a big
No,
deal.
that's why
But
you
really,
need
I'm
your
like,
own, and she can't touch
that
those.
was my own. But then she was
Oh,
here and she
I'm
freaking
sorry.
destroyed it. So that's fine. That's okay because they'll become her crayons, and I'm gonna go get me some new ones.
Exactly. See?
They make me happy.
Yay!
Woo!
So, guys, make sure you go check out Maria Daniels on Successfully Chaotic. Go and listen to her show and follow all of her stuff on social media. I guarantee you will learn from it and get information that can be used in your life. Maria, once again, thank you so much for your time today on Price on Purpose.
Absolutely, anytime.